Hey everybody, today is Monday, March the 12th. I'm Tresnay, host of FCN Prime News. Got some great stories for y'all today, including Scientology has decided to launch its own TV network, and China has decided that a dictatorship model is the way to go. I'm joined with J-Co, your resident sports guy. He's in the studio. J-Co, what sports stories do you have for us today?
Hey. Waiting for my signal. Hey, this is J-Co. I got some great stories actually today, Tresnay. We talking Tiger Woods comeback. We talking NCAA tournament. We talking some NBA and a little bit of good old NFL nonsense. So stay tuned. But as of now, I'm sending it back to you.
All right, y'all. An Oregon woman accused of drugging her kids at a daycare so she could go tanning and work out has been sentenced to 21 years and 4 months in prison on Friday. January Netherland was sentenced Friday after pleading guilty to 11 counts of first-degree criminal mistreatment and 1 count of third-degree assault, their local news reported. The 32-year-old was arrested last year after police found 7 young children unattended at her unlicensed daycare called Little Giggles. According to authorities, Netherland drugged the children with a sleeping aid melatonin in the form of a gummy bear before leaving the facility to go tan and work out. Police began watching her last March after her former boyfriend and former roommate reported what she was doing. Netherland reportedly told parents that they couldn't drop them off or pick them up between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., which was reportedly nap time. Talk about a red flag. Police checked records at CrossFit and Tan Republic and found that Netherland typically visited the businesses during the children's nap time. The judge noted that Netherland's behavior created a lasting damage for the families who trusted her to watch their children, and the parents reported that even now their children still struggle with sleeping issues. That is a darn shame, and she should have gotten 100 years for this. After years of being skewed by programs and documentaries about its shenanigans, the controversial church with the huge celebrity following is taking to TV to tell its own truth. The Church of Scientology announced on its official Twitter account on Sunday that the Scientology network will debut today at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. According to the organization, it's time to tell our story, and its program will be available on DirecTV, Apple TV, Roku, Fire TV, Google Play, and its website, Scientology.tv. According to the description in the iTunes store, where it's also available, the Scientology Network's app will allow users to watch original series like Meet the Scientologists and Voices for Humanity, along with a program called L. Ron Hubbard in His Voice, and Scientology Principal Films will also be available. This probably comes in response to A&E's series, Scientology in the Aftermath, where actress Leah Remini, a member of the church until 2013, speaks against other Scientologists who have made disparaging claims about the church, including that it turns a blind eye to sexual abuse. The church previously denied the program's claims and called the docuseries incredibly dishonest. Will you be watching Scientology TV? Not me. Nope. A Confederate monument is out, and Harriet Tubman is in a park in Baltimore near the Johns Hopkins University. The section of a Baltimore park that once hosted a Confederate monument was rededicated on Saturday in honor of the famed abolitionist Harriet Tubman. A tree-filled area of Women Park Dale near Johns Hopkins was renamed the Harriet Tubman Grove as part of a ceremony marking the 105th year since her death. Residents gathered in the park on Saturday to celebrate her life and the renaming of the grove. The Harriet Tubman Grove was previously the site of statues for Confederate Generals Robert E. Lee and Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson. In August, Baltimore removed 4 Confederate monuments from the park in wake of the violent white nationalist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. The memorials moved also included a monument dedicated to the Confederate women and a monument to Roger B. Taney, the infamous Supreme Court Justice who wrote the opinion in the Dred Scott case. Mayor Catherine Pugh, who is Black, later defended the decision to remove the memorials in the middle of the night, saying, "I felt the best way to remove those monuments was to remove them when it was dark. I thought that there's enough grandstanding, enough speeches being made, so I'll get it done," she said, adding that the decision to relocate the monuments shouldn't be a debate that's gripping this city. Removing stuff in the middle of the night, eh? Harriet would not have had it any other way. In other news, in New York City, 5 people died when a sightseeing helicopter crashed into the icy East River. The pilot, who was able to free himself, was the crash's only survivor. The helicopter was upside down and submerged when first responders finally got to the helicopter. They found the victims were tightly harnessed inside the helicopter and had to be cut out. In a Mayday call right before the crash, the pilot said that the helicopter was actually having engine failure. Preliminary information from an interview with the pilot named Richard Vance suggested that a passenger's harness somehow got wrapped around the fuel's shutoff switch, accidentally cutting off the fuel supply to the helicopter and resulting in engine failure. In 2 interviews with New York City police investigators, Vance said that when he first noticed he was having engine problems, he thought about landing in Central Park, but ruled that out and headed toward the East River instead. Vance then told investigators he couldn't figure out what was wrong with the aircraft until he saw the tether from one of the passengers' harnesses strangling the fuel line, the official said. But by then, Vance had lost all power and prepared for a crash water landing. He also told investigators that he attempted to inflate the emergency pontoons on the helicopter skids prior to hitting the water, but found out the pontoons, which would have kept the aircraft afloat, didn't work. And the helicopter listed one side and flipped over shortly after impact. To make things all worse here, the passengers who chartered this helicopter, it was for a photo shoot. And while they were tightly harnessed in their seats, the doors were left open so that they could get better pictures. And since the doors were open, the helicopter quickly filled up with water and began to sink. And while Vince was able to immediately free himself from the harness, the passengers did not. They were buckled in and trapped in that helicopter when it flipped over and submerged. That is a terrible, terrible, tragic story. In political news, Trump remains the king of going back on his word, this time on a change on minimum age for being able to buy guns as the latest example of his policy zigzags. President Trump's decision to back off a proposal raising the minimum age to buy any gun from 18 to 21 after initially voicing his support for it shouldn't come as a shock from this person who is prone to public zigzagging. After all, Trump signaled support to key senators last fall for a bill to prop up the Affordable Care Act until he backtracked the next day. And he told other senators in January he was ready to back a bipartisan immigration bill until he reversed course within hours. Then last week, he endorsed a face-to-face summit with Kim Jong-un after Trump had tweeted in October that Secretary of State Rex Tillerson was, quote, wasting his time, unquote, trying to negotiate with the North Korea dictator. In a meeting with lawmakers 2 weeks ago, Trump said, it doesn't make sense that I have to wait until I'm 21 to buy a handgun, but I can get this other weapon at 18. But when the White House unveiled its school safety plan Sunday night, in reaction to the Parkland massacre, the only mention of the age proposal was that it would be one of 11 issues a commission headed by Education Secretary Betsy DeVos would study. Trump tweeted that he's watching court cases and rulings before proposing a universal age increase, but noted that there's not much political support, to put it mildly. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders said on Monday that the president hasn't abandoned the idea of raising a gun buying age, but that the plan released Sunday reflects what the executive branch can achieve right now. Gun control advocates, of course, say that the reason for Trump's retreat is obvious. He has caved to the National Rifle Association. Speaking of Trumpisms, Ivanka Trump has admitted to the Washington Post that she is never going to stand up against her dad and his policies. Remember when everyone kept saying that Ivanka Trump was going to be the firewall against the crazies in her dad's administration? Yeah, if you haven't figured it out by now, that's never going to happen, and now the world has heard it from Ivanka's own mouth. In a profile in the Washington Post, Ivanka acknowledges that she doesn't see her role as advocating publicly against policies she disagrees with. She says that it is her duty to get behind the White House no matter what. Ivanka says that if she uses her voice, it will be to amplify the issues she most cares about, such as workforce development, infrastructure, and women's entrepreneurship in the months ahead. So basically, it's safe to say that there's no hashtag Me Too and there's no hashtag Time's Up advocacy coming from her anytime, never. Speaking of dictators, over in China, it is official. Chinese President Xi Jinping can serve for the rest of his life if he wants to. Yesterday, China's parliament voted to end presidential term limits. The country's Communist Party said that the change, which did spark a backlash in that nation, was necessary to align the presidency with Xi's other post, which is head of the party and head of the military, which also have no term limits. Xi is already being hailed as the most powerful Chinese leader since Mao Zedong, who ruled the country for decades. I bet Trump is so jealous and will tweet that our Constitution needs to be amended to reflect this wonderful, awesome, genius dictatorship model. I'm sure it's coming. In other news, South by Southwest is going on in Austin, Texas, and a few noteworthy items occurred. First, Barry Jenkins, the director of the movie Moonlight, took the opportunity at the conference to do what he couldn't do at the 2017 Oscars, and that is to read his acceptance speech. We all remember when La La Land was announced as the best picture for that year, when the actual winner should have been Moonlight, and we definitely all remember the strange, confused moment it created. Due to that mix-up, Jenkins did not get to give his prepared speech. During his keynote at South by Southwest, he gave that speech, and it focused on the less than ideal circumstances of his upbringing and reflecting that those circumstances that you think you grow up in and you don't think that you can win Best Picture. He said that he has had to admit to himself that he placed those limitations on himself and he denied himself that dream, and he has encouraged everyone to love themselves because doing so may be the difference between dreaming at all and somehow realizing the dreams you never allowed yourself to have. Pretty inspirational stuff. In business news, Apple has bought Texture, a digital magazine subscription service. At South by Southwest, Apple Inc. said that in its acquiring of Texture, which is a digital magazine service, it lets users subscribe to more than 200 magazines for only $9.99 a month. Texture, offered via the app stores of Apple, Google, and Amazon.com Inc., bolsters Apple's efforts in online services and media. The California company aims to top $50 billion in annual services revenue by 2021, and a magazine subscription service would likely contribute to that. The deal may help Apple boost relations with news outlets that have become very wary of Facebook and Google. Some publishers reported losing online traffic from Facebook after the social media network recently refocused on giving content from users, friends, and relatives first. Texture's magazine catalog includes Entertainment Weekly, Billboard, Vanity Fair, Vogue, and Bloomberg Businessweek. The app is currently run by Next Issue Media, owned by a group of publishers and other companies including Hearst, Meredith, News Corp, and Rogers Communications, Inc. Apple didn't say, however, how much it paid for Texture. This is Apple's second reported acquisition of 2018. In January, it bought Buddy Build, an app development service based in Canada. Apple has also killed, at South by Southwest, all talk about purchasing Netflix. At South by Southwest, when asked why the cash-rich company doesn't just buy Netflix or outright buy Disney, a speaker recalled the famous Wayne Gretzky quote saying that the company doesn't just want to skate where the puck is now, it wants to skate where it's going. The speaker explained how Apple's focus is on improving the experience of watching TV. And while they don't know anything about making television, they do know about making apps, distribution, and marketing. That being said, Apple is seeking to fix this deficiency, recently hiring 2 executives with TV background who have a team of about 40 people. In science news, Elon Musk says SpaceX could begin testing Mars rocket in 2019. Elon Musk, the founder and CEO of SpaceX, says the company could begin testing a spacecraft designed to travel to Mars and return to Earth as soon as the year 2019. He says, and I quote, "I can tell you what I know currently is the case, is that we are building the first ship, the first Mars interplanetary ship right now," Musk told a crowd during a surprise appearance at South by Southwest on this Sunday. He said, and I quote, "I think that we'll be able to do short flights, sort of up and down flights, probably sometime in the first half of next year," quote unquote. Musk acknowledged that people have told him that his timelines have been quite optimistic, but he's trying to recalibrate at some degree. Last year, the cargo missions to Mars, he said, could happen by the year 2022, and that human flights could happen by 2024. SpaceX successfully launched its Falcon Heavy rocket in February in a dazzling technological feat, its 27 engines lifting a payload weighing tens of thousands of pounds into orbit before catapulting Musk's own Tesla Roadster towards the red planet to the tune of David Bowie's Space Oddity. At South by Southwest, Musk did say that SpaceX Mars rocket, known as BFR, or Big Effing Rocket, would have twice the liftoff thrust of the Saturn V, the rocket NASA used to send astronauts to the moon. He said the company is focused on ensuring the rocket's boosters are reusable in subsequent launches, which dramatically reduces the cost of each flight. Musk said he aimed to get the cost of the flights below $5 or $6 million. In my final news story before we head to sports news, the CDC has said that the missing researcher had indeed been promoted despite reports to the contrary. A Centers for Disease Control and Prevention researcher, Timothy Cunningham, who has now been missing for a month, did indeed receive a promotion, the agency said today. The CDC said that initial reports that Cunningham had been passed over for promotion and was motive for him disappearing were incorrect. In a February 27th press conference, Atlanta police said that Cunningham was upset that he hadn't gotten a promotion that he wanted. Cunningham, a Morehouse College and Harvard University graduate, was an epidemiologist working for the chronic disease department of the CDC. The 35-year-old was last seen February 12th when he left his job, telling colleagues that he was ill. The investigation into his disappearance continues. In July, Cunningham received an early promotion to commander, the CDC said in its press conference. The CDC says that if Tim reads this message, we do hope that you come home soon. If anyone reading this has or hearing this has information about the whereabouts of Commander Cunningham, they would love for you to come forward. You're encouraged to contact Crime Stoppers of Greater Atlanta. With that, we're going to kick it to the sports set where Jaco is waiting with his sports stories for today.
Hey everybody, it's Jaco. You can follow me at JCoIsIt, and welcome to Prime News Sports, where I will be providing you with a perspective that isn't yours. And in our top story of the night, guess who's back? Back again. Tiger's back. Tell a friend, guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Da da da. Tiger Woods is back to the game of golf. Yeah, he's been back before. I do understand, but back and as in the man shot 9 under par during the Valspar Championship this weekend and was 1 shot away from the first place finish. This is his highest finish in the last 5 years. He has not won a tournament since 2013. So, of all the comebacks that Tiger has had, this one is looking the most promising after he had been faced with lots of injuries Lots of issues with his back, with his swing. Looks like he is coming back to form. He may never return to what he was at, that dominant Tiger that we knew and loved when he first roared onto the scene. No pun intended. But even a competitive Tiger like this, who is pushing for the first place, is a big thing for golf. It is a huge thing for people watching golf. Number one, he is exciting. Most of golf is boring. Golf being probably the second whitest sport behind the Finland curling team. It needs a little diversity, a little color. Tiger Woods was someone who spurred diversity, spurred ethnicity, spurred competition. Sergio Garcia was someone who roared on the scene, trying to catch up with Tiger, being inspired by him. Young minorities being able to see someone like Tiger compete. Tiger, who is self-proclaimed Cambodian. Okay, so he's got a lot. He covers a lot of diversity, just his own ethnicity and his own background, let alone people who he inspires to play the game. So I do hope that he comes back. I hope that he stays. I hope that he's competitive. I don't watch golf. I might. No, I'm not. I probably won't watch anyway, even if Tiger plays. But I will keep up with the standings. I will do that, which is not something that I do when Tiger's not around. So, you know, there you go. So I am pulling for you, Tiger. Let's get it. All right, so speaking of the whitest of white, hunky reporter Chris Wessling from NFL.com.
Relax.
Oh no, this motherfucker.
Whoa! Relax.
Chris Wessling reported just before Michael Bennett was traded from the Seattle Seahawks to the world champion Super Bowl winner Philadelphia Eagles, by the way. So I don't think he's worried about that trade at all. He reported that Earl Thomas and, quote, disruptive, as you see, I underlined that, disruptive defensive lineman Michael Bennett. So you have to qualify this man as a disruption because what? Well, Michael Bennett was targeted as one of the most outspoken players on the Seahawks, and he was one of Colin Kaepernick's biggest supporters. He sat during the national anthem every game last season except the one on Veterans Day where they actually honored veterans. He did stand during that game. The other ones, he was sitting. Now, this is a man who had 8.5 sacks last season, second on the Seattle team, right? The second best tackler on your team. A man who just signed a 3-year extension. And then all of a sudden, you get a season of him sitting down during the anthem, and you trade him away. Is he disruptive, though? Is he really? Or you just don't want that bad press because there are black people still and yet wanting to bring attention to the issue of social injustice. So I hope the best for him. I hope he's the addition that they need to win again. And I hope that they play the Seahawks and bury them. I hope Chris Wessling, you know, gets a clue, but he probably won't because he's an NFL person. So what do? They yeah, exactly. Those people, those NFL folks. All right, off that soapbox. So anyway, ain't no problem like a white man problem. Because the white man problem don't stop. Although NBA players have been dealing with and talking about mental health issues for years, all it took was for one letter, well written by a white man, to make policy changes. The NBA claims that it's been working on policy changes to address mental health for a year, but the release of this plan that they have just announced today is a little bit coincidental. They are putting in place measures to help to offer aid to NBA players who have a mental health issue, for allowing them to seek counseling outside of NBA counselors or, you know, people that the NBA plays, so they can go out and get their own psychologist, and the NBA will still cover that cost. Apparently that wasn't something that they were doing before. Yeah, keep it in-house so it can all be hush-hush, right? So, you know, okay, change is good, but it's just a little bit suspect to me that now is the time that they're making that change. So, yeah, go NBA. And you know, I'm on the NBA side, so if I'm going against the NBA, y'all got trouble. And in my final story, speaking of trouble, reveal failed. TBS, for the first time, held the Selection Sunday event for the NCAA men's basketball tournament. They failed miserably. What did they do? They changed the format. So instead of a normal reveal of the brackets, showing the numbers, revealing what team was placed where, they did an alphabetical reveal, first for those who got automatic bids by being first in their conference or winning their conference tournament, and then another alphabetical reveal of those who got at-large bids. The viewers were not happy. I have this to say, however. People love change. Nowadays, especially in this social media age, nobody wants the same old, same old. So TBS tried to flip something. They tried something new, and you guys like, oh, well, we might as well go back to the old thing. But if they did it the old way, you'd be like, why don't they try something new? So social media, I need you to just shut up for a minute. Give them just, you know, a little bit of leeway to work on this. You know who won. It showed you everybody who won. They revealed the brackets, what their ranks were. What more do you want? It's better than the year when they were so slow in revealing. They were purposely so slow in revealing each bracket reveal. Somebody got fed up and just tweeted out or pushed out all the rankings onto social media before they had even finished the show. So this isn't that year, guys. Let's give them a little bit of a break. But that's about all the break the NCAA gets. Why? Well, because let's remember they are still under FBI investigation. 4 very notable snubs from the NCAA tournament. Of these 4 teams, Louisville, USC, Oklahoma State, and Notre Dame is the only one on this list who is not or has not recently been a part of the not the NCAA, the FBI investigation. Notre Dame, obviously not cheating. That's why they've been so mediocre in recent memory. I'm not a Notre Dame fan, so we're not going to talk about them anymore. But
basketball,
what's that? It's basketball. You're right. It's basketball. Troy Murphy was the last time I remember them having any buzz around that team, and they still were mediocre. But was this? So people are talking about this. Was this on purpose? Yes. Yes, it was. There were many teams on there that these 3 teams could have replaced. But what is it that right now the NCAA wants the least? They don't want people saying, oh, hey, Louisville's in the tournament. Aren't they under investigation for paying people to bring prostitutes onto campus? Isn't USC under investigation for giving money to their recruits and to someone to get people to come play for them? No, that's not it. So let's just, you know, keep them far away now. They were on the bubble. Arizona, who did make it because they got an automatic bid, got a much lower spot than normal. So their ranking in the tournament is lower. And I'm sure NCAA is hoping that they have an early exit so that, you know, no distractions. No, let's forget the FBI is not really talking about us right now. That stuff's over. Watch basketball. Cinderella. Remember Cinderella? So there we go. And that is it for me from the FCN2 Sports Desk. Tresemme, do we have comments? Do we have any additional?
We do have some comments, one particularly about your Tiger story. So Anthony Williams says, Tiger and OJ making comebacks this year? Whoa, we're in the Twilight Zone.
Is OJ making a comeback, though?
I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch the interview that he gave.
Wasn't that an interview from 06,
It was from 2006.
Yeah, so
I felt like it was a little bit late. It should have been aired either right around the time of People vs. O.J. Simpson, or it should have been aired when he got booted out of jail or parole from jail.
I'll tell you what the most interesting thing about that interview is, though. Nothing. I didn't watch it, and I could give no cares. I have no more fucks for OJ. Let's please stop making him news, because it's not news. As the Revolution pointed out to me, what's the key word in news? New. Ain't nothing about that story new.
right. Let's see. Tanisha D. Newman Pruitt says, throw all of Scientology away. Throw it away. Listen, I don't know how people are getting fooled by this. It looks like every single Scientology meeting I ever see looks like one of those MLM meetup gatherings. Mm-hmm. There's someone up front saying how great they've been doing, and you all should just be motivated. It's
like church.
Yes,
like regular church.
Like regular church.
Okay, sounds about right.
Regular church.
Sounds about right.
Let's see. One comment about your story, Raymond. Ramon Javier Benito says, "Motherfucker, oh, sir." Yeah.
We don't have bleeps on SCN either, so.
Will we ever be required to do bleeps? No. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, let's see. The Reggie Mathis says, basically, the price isn't right yet. Hashtag Apple is biding their time. Yeah.
Could Apple take Disney? Could that?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, they could. And here's the thing, okay, and I've said this before.
Mm-hmm.
Apple is in a very precarious situation, right? Apple does not make anything outside of television and film, right?
Right.
Whereas, look, I've said this before, look at Sony. Sony actually makes devices,
right.
They make phones, they make devices,
right.
They make television shows, they make film,
yeah.
They make music, they have the world's largest catalog. Like, Sony is quietly positioning themselves to do something. I don't know what. They have game systems, they make gaming, they do everything. That's who you should be worried about. But however, Disney is buyable. Like, anyone with half a brain is saying, go buy Disney.
Yikes.
Somebody said, but when you look at that, Disney would cost you somewhere around $60, $70 billion. Like, it's not a cheap acquisition.
Yeah, and I was going to say like 80 gazillion,
yeah,
so that's about right.
It's ridiculous.
80 gazillion. Let's see, I think we have two more comments. Anthony Williams says, hashtag throw the whole government away, which I definitely agree with. We do need to get that dude impeached up out of there. And then Tanisha D. Newman Pruitt says, why would anybody think that Ivanka would stand up to her father?
Who was saying this?
There's billions of dollars, allegedly, on the line for her. Hashtag trust fund. I don't know, but I have read where people are like, maybe Ivanka will stand up for women. No. The man said he would date her.
Who A, were living in a self-denial fantasy world after the election, and B, haven't been paying any attention to the family. So,
none.
Ridiculous.
Hey, Baba Rob is on watching. He has a comment, but I don't know what you're talking about, Baba Rob.
I think he was talking about me. He wanted to actually hear the
comment.
Okay.
Couldn't actually hear
those off-screen comments don't always get picked up by the mic so well.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. We'll see what we can do about that another day. Any other comments? Because you know how Facebook be tripping.
Do you see anything else that we missed?
There was a comment here. He said Ray off camera. Some gentleman on YouTube said, and I quote, Scientology and chill.
Absolutely not.
I don't know who that smart, quick-witted.
Who that quick-witted gentleman was? That's a great comment.
Great
whoever you are that comment on YouTube, you are a smart, quick-witted gentleman.
Yeah, Scientology and chill.
Can you imagine though, like, I don't know, ladies, you guys says, hey, come over, let's watch some TV, chill, and you get there, and he's got Scientology.tv
He's
on.
recruiting you.
And you're like, what?
That would be the greatest date story ever.
Run, girl.
Or see it through and see what happens.
No, that is not a see how it unfolds situation. No.
You think they'll brainwash you?
Yes.
Yes.
You think they're brainwashed?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I told you about me sticking around. When I had, did I move back from LA, or was that before I moved to LA? No, it was before I moved to LA. It was before I moved to LA, and I had needed a job, right? I think it was something. I think I left the radio station or something, and so I needed a job, and so I was working at this company. I was working at this company, And so everything was really weird that they had me doing. And they had this IQ test when I first started. I was like, this isn't an IQ test. I've taken many IQ tests, right? And so everything that they had us learn from was photocopied, right? And they had the corners taken out. And you know me, I'm an investigator, right? So after everything, right, I would literally, I'm not joking, I would stay after work hours and I would hide out in the bathroom, and then I would run into like the training room, and I would go onto one of the shelves and I would grab one of the books, I would start looking through it, and it had L. Ron Hubbard, and I was like, oh God, no! It was like, what's the name of the movie? Soylent Green. I was like, it's people! And I was like, they're Scientologists! They're Scientologists!
Trying to get a job with the Scientologists.
Yes, and so then the first day, I was drawing pictures of spaceships, right? And I was passing them over to the girl that I was working with. And so when they was like, Raymond, would you like to share any of that with anyone? I said, no.
Not at all.
Absolutely not at all. And so the first day I got my cubicle, they said, Raymond, would you care to follow us to the back? I was like, no, not at all. And so, yeah, that was the first and last day of my employment there with the Scientologists.
Oh my God. David Neely has just joined us. He said, what's up everyone? Hashtag Wakanda forever.
Okay.
I think there was a comment I saw from Ramon Javier Benitez that said, if I'm a pastor, don't ever follow me. Why would anyone ever follow anybody in Scientology?
Indeed. The religion is based off of Star Wars, so that's the midichlorians.
Yeah, he was a science fiction writer.
Yeah,
L. Ron
yeah.
Hubbard was a science fiction writer who started his own church. Like, just right there, he was a science fiction.
He was a science fiction author before he was a church leader. So.
And who follows that guy? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yep.
He
Hey,
got
David, next time tune in on time. You missed it.
Yeah, you did. The whole show. But that's all right. Watch it on replay. All right, that's all we got here for FCN Prime News. Tomorrow is Tuesday, which means that we have Black Lightning pregame show with The Revolution at 8:30 p.m. if I'm not mistaken.
That's it.
And then am I missing something for Tuesday? Okay, I'm not. All right. And then Wednesday, we have The Woo Show hosted by Hulk A. Tone, giving you all of your highlights of WWE and UFC and MMA and indie wrestling, followed by the ACS Versace pregame show hosted by yours truly. We only got a few episodes left of that, so you'll be with me as we talk about that horrible show. And then Thursday, of course, Prime News returns at 7 p.m., followed by the Thursday Wind Down hosted by Starla K. Mathis, followed by, with that,
Baller Thursday. Okay, go ahead.
you want to close out the show? You done interrupted?
I just
No,
wanted to say
you
my
just,
show. Hosted by J. Cole and D. Masses.
yeah, they just happy about their promo they just put out this week. Yeah, go to Twitter and you can check out the promo on FCN2. Is that right? FCN2? And see the promo for that. They will be closing out Thursday's programming. And then, of course, on Friday, it's Fri-Fi Nights, where we give you the worstest sci-fi movie ever for you to enjoy in your own little FCN and chill, if you will. All right, with that, that's the end of Prime News. Thank you guys for tuning in with us. I'm Trezene.
J. Cole.
And we will see you guys next time.